Hello again, everyone. Today I wanted to show you one of the very few classic notebooks that I have in my collection. I generally favor deluxe versions, which is why I only have a couple of the classics. This is a Chic Sparrow Narrow in Creme Chocolate Brown. Show you the back there. And then what I have in this notebook is swatching for my travel watercolor palettes. And I'll show you what I mean by that when we get in here, but I'm going to show you the notebook and the contents a little bit, and then I'm going to go through the actual swatching notebooks themselves. So here I have, I'll just show you the pen first. I have a multi-pen. This is a uni style and fit. It's a passable multi-pen. I'm not a huge fan of multi-pens generally. It has gel pen inserts in it. It has a couple of blacks of different sizes. It has a blue and it has a brown, and then it has the pencil. And they've been really useful for having this many different colors and sizes for labeling my individual swatches, which I'll show you later. And it fits really well in this pen loop that's in there, which is part of the reason why I have it in here as well. So the first insert here is a Traveler's Company watercolor paper insert with a dashboard around with some paper, decorative paper, front and back. You'll notice that sometimes I just put cut paper in the front and don't have it go all the way from side to side. The back one I've gone from side to side. The only real reason for that is when I first started doing this, I couldn't really figure out how to make it go all the way across, so I just would cut it for the front and back. Either way works. I think the continuous from front to back looks a little better, which I'll show you when I get to the back here. So a little bit about this Traveler's Company insert. So to say I hate it is probably a little too strong, but I have to say that the watercolor paper does not work really well for watercolor at all. If you are looking for an insert to do watercolor sketches or anything watercolor, I would not recommend the Traveler's Company watercolor notebook. I'll show you here what made it so difficult to work with it when we get in here. So I learned from my mistake after having this one. I had gone far enough through the notebook that I really couldn't, or I didn't want to give up on the notebook once I had gotten about halfway through and realized how much I did not like it. So I went ahead and this is almost all completely filled out. And then I did get another watercolor insert from a seller on Etsy, which hopefully will fare much better. And this is just standard watercolor paper in here. So again, this is a narrow size insert, and then I have another dashboard here with the paper that goes all the way from the front to the back. I put 2 sheets in here of this butterfly paper. Okay, and then this insert, this wallet insert in the middle is by Keely Reichman. I think she also goes by Odd Girl Journals. And these are made out of Trader Joe's shopping bags. I'm not sure if they're all actually truly from Trader Joe's, but that was the original idea, I believe, for making these. So they could be from some bags from somewhere else. But they're kind of hard to come by these days because she's become so popular that basically as soon as they get posted, they get snatched up. So you can try and keep track of when she does her updates. There's also some available on buy-sell trade groups occasionally. I did purchase this from Keely Reichman on Etsy back before she was so incredibly popular, I think, but I just wanted to let you know that you may not be able to get one easily, just FYI. So what I have in here is little stamps to actually make the swatches that I have here in the book, and I'll show you the examples when we go through the first notebook. So this one is from Stamping Bella. Although I think I got this off of Amazon, so I'll try and put a link to that below. Oh, it looks like this one got a little smushed. Okay, So you can see there's one larger stamp that is that looks a little bit like a watercolor palette, and then you can put your little swatches inside the circles, and then there's also an individual circle. I've only used the individual circle stamp because I haven't really found a place for these, but they do kind of make a very neat swatching space if you want to use that. And then in here I just have a ruler, which I haven't really used much in here. I think I originally just put it in here because I didn't really have any other place to put it. You've got some circles down here, some different size squares, some letters. It would probably be much more useful in a different notebook because I haven't really used it in here, but someday I might. And then in this zipper pocket, I have a travel water brush. This is a Miller's Pseudo Sable size 4, and this is one that was not shown in my tour of all my travel watercolor brushes because it was in this notebook. And this is a good size for making swatches in here because of the smaller size that I'm making swatches. So that one lives in here. And then I also have these, so this is a little acrylic stamp pad that you stick these onto before you stamp them, and that's just from Tim Holtz. I got them as part of a set. And then these are all from Waffle Flower, but I've cut them. They came in larger sheets of different kinds of stamps for swatches, and I cut these down so that they would fit in here. I didn't cut the actual stamps down, I just cut the dividers between them. And you can see there's a few that I haven't really used yet, but this one is one that I use a lot, and I'll show you how when I get into the notebook. And then this one is the one that I use for the individual swatches of each color. And again, you'll see I haven't really used the ones down at the end, and I haven't used these little ones yet. So let's get into the meat of it, where we have the actual swatches. I'm going to put all that back in there with the paintbrush. All right, and this one back here is completely blank, so I'm woefully behind on these swatches. So what I am planning to do is the ones that aren't currently my travel palettes that are not currently represented in here. I plan to do some videos of swatching those out in the future. And I'll show you what that means here as I open this up. So I've labeled this travel watercolor palettes. So I'm going to turn this to this side. And I usually take this insert out to do these because it's a little easier than keeping them in there. And this really just becomes a reference book. So here, and again, I've made notes of where these are no longer accurate because I do change around my travel watercolor palettes a lot. And I put the date in which I changed it. So this was my original usual travel palette, and it was mostly Schminke at the time. And so what I did was I put a swatch of each and every color here. And then this stamp, which you saw earlier, is so that I could do a little color chart of what some of these colors look like mixed together. So basically what I do is I go through and I choose what I think is the reddest red, the bluest blue, and the yellowest yellow, and that's really kind of up to me. So that's a very subjective choice. And then in the middle is all three of those mixed together, so that really should be a neutral color, which it kind of is. And then obviously I mixed the reds and the yellows to make a orange, and then, you know, variants of that on either side. The blue with the red to make a purple, and then the variants on either side. And then the blue with the yellow to make a green, and then the variants on either side of that. So this is a very little handy thing to just kind of show you some of the possible colors that can be made with this palette. This obviously is not going to represent everything. In fact, probably not even really a true fraction of what you could do with all these different colors. But here I will show you why I really don't like this watercolor paper. So it has some sort of coating on it that resists the watercolor. So with a lot of these, I had to really scrub to get the watercolor in here. Like here you can see it didn't go down evenly, and there's all these, essentially like a watermark. This should be a solid color, and it's not. And that's because of the paper. It is not because of the watercolor. And here you can see where some places where it resisted because of the paper. It's kind of awful, quite frankly. And what I tried to do was really just scrub it so that you could see the colors represented. And what all these different little boxes are. So this is the color. So at the top it's full strength, and then I have diluted it going down in the box. And then this is sort of a middle value where I've put a little bit of water, and then this is a lighter value down here on the bottom. So, so you get kind of the full range of the color. Again, because of how horrible this watercolor paper is, it's not really showing up that great, because these are great watercolors and they are not showing up like that on this page. So I'm just going to flip through the rest of these fairly quickly so that you can see. I'll just show you the sort of the convention of how I labeled things. I put all the colors here, obviously, and then I put what I'm naming the travel palette, and then I've put little abbreviations for the brand names that I've used. And then I actually went in with the gel pen, the black gel pen, before I did the swatches, and put a little black mark, because this is actually normally completely solid, so that you could kind of see what the opacity is when it goes over that black mark. Okay, so this one here is outdated, so I'm going to do a new one in here for my Schmincke travel palette. And then this one is still accurate. It's the Core Watercolor Travel Palette in a Cotman case. And I've actually used this on the channel before. I'll move that up a little. And this one came out a little bit better. I think I had learned a little bit how to use it a little better, but it still is not the greatest on this paper. And so this is a portable palette. And this is still relatively the same. I made some corrections to different things I changed out. And then here we have the Windsor Newton Compact Palette. And this I think I have changed a little bit, although I may have already made those changes. So basically what I'll do is I'll go through here and I will make sure that these are still either the same as they are here, or similar enough that I could just make smaller changes. And if not, I'll do a new one. And then here we have things in the Da Vinci palette that I have. That one has changed as well. Prima Odyssey palette. I've actually moved all of these colors into other palettes with other things. This is actually one of the ones that came out better in this book, and I wondered if towards the beginning and towards the end, if the paper had more of a coating, because it actually worked a little better towards the middle. Okay, and then this is Da Vinci Mini Palette, and I will go through these at some later point and show you what these look like in the palette. But for now, you can just know that I am calling them these for some reason or another. Okay, that's the Da Vinci Mini Palette. A Lucas palette, again, this one has changed. Sennelier Brown palette, I actually am not using that anymore because it's not very convenient for travel. Holbein Palm Box, that should be about the same still. Draw Your Day palette, that was a custom palette made for Expeditionary Arts and their little compact travel palettes. This is all of my Letter Sparrow watercolors that are also in a little compact Expeditionary Arts palette. Ultimate Palette Mixing Pocket Palette Ultimate Mixing Palette Edition. That one has not changed either, and that's another one of the Expeditionary Arts palettes. Pfeiffer Art Supply Watch Kit, that's what they called it, and these are handmade watercolors. And then these are things that I have in a Meaden Travel palette, but again, this has changed. And then, what is this one? Oh, so I had a palette with all handmade watercolors, which is what this is, but this has also changed. So that's gonna be updated. And when you see these, I realize how many travel palettes I really have, because this is only a part of the palettes that I have. And part of the reason, too, that there's more to do is that these have changed. So, but it may seem a little excessive to some, but I truly love watercolor. And so this is a blue palette of Artist Watercolor tubes that I have in here. Mini Toolkit palette, Windsor Newton blue palette. That's a larger palette that I have with Winsor Newton tubed colors. And then that's the end. So I'm debating whether I want to use this last page. I may just leave it blank just because I'm kind of done with this paper. And then I will start again back here in this one with the next one. So I just wanted to go through that a little bit, and I will go through different watercolor palettes individually, because this actually takes quite some time to do each palette, because I have to put down the stamps first, let those dry, and then I usually label everything and then do the swatching. So what I will do in my future videos is I will do the stamping and the labeling, and then I will just do the swatching for you all. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like and or subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.